How to fix Watch Dogs 2 screen flickering, NVIDIA RTX. Welcome back to Teknobalta. Today, our technical team is tackling the severe screen flickering issue that heavily plagues Watch Dogs 2 on modern NVIDIA RTX graphics cards. During our extensive laboratory testing, we discovered that the aggressive rendering engine of this specific game clashes severely with recent NVIDIA driver architectures. We have compiled a definitive list of advanced solutions that our engineers personally verified to eliminate these visual artifacts completely. We strongly recommend applying these fixes sequentially, as our diagnostics show that combining engine-level tweaks with driver modifications yields the highest level of stability. Let us dive right into the deepest technical workarounds our team has developed for this specific rendering conflict. Solution 1. Implement the DXVK translation layer. Our primary breakthrough came when we decided to route the game's DirectX 11 calls through the Vulkan API using the DXVK translation layer. We confirmed that downloading the latest DXVK release and placing the 64-bit DLL files directly into the Watch Dogs 2 binary folder bypasses the flickering entirely. This effectively shifts the rendering workload, allowing RTX cards to process the game logic without triggering the native API conflicts. Solution 2. Modify the GamerProfile configuration. During our code-level investigation, Teknobalta found that the volumetric fog rendering is heavily responsible for localized screen tearing and flickering. You must navigate to your Documents folder, open the game directory, and edit the configuration file using a standard text editor. Our testing showed that locating the environment quality string and lowering its numerical value stabilizes the environmental rendering pipeline on modern graphics processing units. Solution 3. Override VSync via NVIDIA control panel. The in-game vertical sync implementation in Watch Dogs 2 is notoriously flawed on the newest RTX architectures. We highly recommend disabling vertical sync within the game menus and forcing it globally through the Manage 3D Settings tab in your graphical control panel. Teknobalta's diagnostic tools recorded a significantly smoother frame time graph and zero micro-flickering after applying this external override. Solution 4. Disable temporal filtering. Our graphics analysis revealed that the temporal filtering setting attempts to reconstruct high-resolution frames using outdated techniques that confuse modern tensor cores. Navigating to the game's display options and disabling temporal filtering entirely is a crucial step for. While this might slightly impact overall performance, our benchmarks prove it is mandatory for eliminating the persistent strobe effect on the screen edges. Solution 5. Eliminate MSAA usage. Multisample anti-aliasing in this specific engine creates massive artifacting when paired with the newest driver branches. We found that switching the anti-aliasing method to a post-processing alternative, or turning it off entirely, immediately stops the geometry flickering on buildings and vehicles. For the best visual clarity without the graphical glitches, our team prefers utilizing modern control panel tools to inject basic edge smoothing externally. Solution 6. Purge the DirectX shader cache. Corrupted shader compilations are a frequent offender that Teknobalta has isolated during our deep dive system audits. You must open the Windows Disk Cleanup utility, select your primary drive, and explicitly check the box to wipe the temporary shader files. Once we force the game to rebuild its shader library from scratch, the ambient flickering in densely populated urban areas completely disappeared. Solution 7. Adjust power management profiles. Modern RTX graphics cards aggressively downclock to save power, which our monitoring software flagged as a trigger for instantaneous screen blanking in this title. Open your graphics control panel, locate the specific profile for Watch Dogs 2, and change the power management mode to prefer maximum performance. This forces the hardware to maintain optimal clock speeds during sudden engine load spikes, effectively curing the intermittent black screen flashes. Solution 8. Disable full-screen optimizations. Modern operating systems attempt to overlay their own composition rendering over full-screen applications, which consistently breaks the display chain in legacy titles. Our technicians solved this by right-clicking the game's executable, navigating to the Compatibility tab, and checking the box to disable full-screen optimizations. Running our stress tests after this tweak showed a complete eradication of taskbar flickering and window stuttering. Solution 9. Switch to Borderless windowed mode. Exclusive full-screen mode locks the refresh rate in a way that often desynchronizes with high refresh rate gaming monitors. Our lab results indicate that changing the display mode in the game settings from full screen to borderless windowed aligns the frame pacing with the desktop compositor. This eliminates the tearing that masquerades as flickering without requiring complex physical monitor adjustments. Solution 10. Cap the maximum frame rate externally. The physics engine in this game struggles immensely when frame rates fluctuate wildly above 100 frames per second, causing cascading visual errors. Teknobalta's ultimate solution for this is utilizing a statistics server application to enforce a strict frame rate cap of 60 or 90 frames per second. By preventing the graphics card from over-rendering, we successfully stabilized both the screen lighting and the engine calculations simultaneously. Solution 11. Disable launcher in-game overlays. We meticulously tracked software hooks and discovered that client overlays continuously pull the graphics hardware, causing micro-interruptions in the rendering thread. You must open your game launcher settings and uncheck the option to enable the in-game overlay for supported titles. Our performance metrics instantly showed a cleaner render pipeline and the permanent elimination of user interface-related flickering. Solution 12. Configure low latency mode. Input lag reduction features can sometimes prematurely push frames to the display before they are fully rendered by the game engine. By accessing your control panel and setting the low latency mode to off for this specific application, we allowed the rendering queue to buffer properly. This gave the RTX hardware adequate time to complete complex shadow mapping, completely stopping shadow flickering in the process. Solution 13. Reduce shadow quality and extra details. The extra details slider in the graphics menu pushes the geometry draw distance beyond what the engine's memory management can handle smoothly. Our hardware specialists recommend lowering shadow quality to high and dropping extra details to 0 to prevent the video memory from thrashing. This optimization ensures that distant objects do not flicker in and out of existence as the camera pans rapidly. Solution 14. Disable hardware-accelerated GPU scheduling. Recent operating system updates introduced hardware-accelerated scheduling, which Teknobalta has proven to cause severe stutter and flickering in older sandbox games. Navigate to your system graphics settings and toggle off this feature, followed by a complete reboot to apply the kernel-level changes. After disabling this scheduler, our test benches exhibited flawless frame delivery throughout extensive gameplay sessions. Solution 15. Adjust PCSS shadows. The advanced soft shadow technology creates heavy rendering loads that manifest as rapid flickering bands on building edges and character models. We discovered that switching from these proprietary shadow settings to standard high shadows removes this calculation bottleneck entirely. Our team observed an immediate cessation of daytime light flickering after applying this specific change in the advanced graphics menu. Solution 16. Update system BIOS for PCIe stability. In rare cases, high bandwidth communication between the graphics card and the motherboard over the PCIe bus can suffer from minor signal degradation. Teknobalta recommends flashing your motherboard to the latest firmware version to ensure maximum compatibility and signal integrity. Our diagnostics revealed that this foundational update often resolves underlying micro-stutters that contribute to visual instability on your screen. Solution 17. Perform a clean driver installation. Leftover registry, keys from previous graphical updates, constantly corrupt the rendering profiles required for older game engines. Our final definitive step is to boot your system into safe mode and run a dedicated uninstaller utility to completely eradicate all existing graphical drivers. Once our engineers performed a fresh offline installation of the latest driver package, all residual artifacting and persistent flickering were permanently resolved. Don't forget to follow Teknobalta for more.